Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of More Money. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and today I'm excited to be talking to digital strategist Nicky, this is her second interview in the year of growth, and she's got awesome updates. I'm so excited to talk about everything that we're going to talk about in this interview. How are you, Nicky?
I'm great. Thank you again for having me back.
Of course. I'm so excited that you're here. Let's start with this. What's awesome?
Quite literally everything right now. So we're right now, it's snowing really badly here, or maybe I should say goodly here in New Jersey. And it's just beautiful outside. The kids have been home. I'm home. My husband's home. And it's been a great day. I am 1 week and 3 days into a new job. It's been a whirlwind, but it's been really cool. And I'm looking forward to the rest of 2018 and what it brings.
Absolutely. Congratulations on your new job.
Thank you.
So it's been 1 week and 3 days. Do you still like it there?
I love it there. I felt like I had been there forever by like day 3. You know,
Wow.
I don't know how, and I think a lot of it is just, everybody there is really great, but I established a rapport with just about everybody that I met almost immediately, and I'm still getting lost as I try and find my way to other people's offices. But it's like, it's so cute to me. Like, I just keep walking until I find it. Like, I'm fine with it. It doesn't give me anxiety or anything. It's like, it's my new home and I'm just going to figure it out.
I love that. That's so cool. And I'm excited to hear that you still like it. I mean, I knew that you would because you created it, right?
Yeah.
It's so awesome. And so one of the questions I wanted to ask you is something that we had actually asked in our I'd asked you in our coaching call a couple weeks ago, like, did you ever see yourself when you started in November? Could you have ever seen this experience coming, this new job, this new opportunity?
Absolutely not. It was probably the furthest thing from my mind. It's like, this is almost like a 180 shift for me. So when I was talking to you back in, I guess it was maybe end of September or October to discuss the possibility of joining the Enchanted Circle, I was at another agency and I was considering, making a play to be there full time or reinvesting my time and my energy into my own practice and growing that out because I had a really good year. I could not have even envisioned that I would be doing I'd be in a completely different vertical, doing this work for someone else at a place that was just minutes away from where I live and where I used to work.
That's amazing. I don't think I realized how close it was to your house.
Oh, it's so close. I'm less than, like 12 minutes away in a commute. And it is quite literally walking distance from where I first talked to you in that discovery call where we talked about, whether or not, to join the Enchanted Circle.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I bet it feels so good to be so close.
Yeah, and it really is surreal. Like, I think if I had just had a snapshot from that conversation with you to what, it would look like just a couple of months later, I would be in shock, but I would have felt so much ease too.
Yes, that's so good. So I want to ask about, because you, like, things started to go really good in your business and then this opportunity came up. So
yes.
So how did you feel navigating? And, I always tell people that the universe is going to deliver quickest way possible and then give us a choice, which is quite literally what happened with you. He's like, universe is like, here's all this business. And then there's this other option if you want it.
Exactly. It was like, I was bombarded with symbolism and messages around like forks in the road.
Mhm.
And making a decision. It was like every song was about decision making. Every television show, every inspirational quote. It was obvious, right, that this
Yeah.
was something that I was supposed to do. And I really just had to have faith that this new path for me was the strongest way to go.
Mhm. I love that. And I love how, because I remember having conversations where it's like, okay, how am I going to make the decision? How am I going to make the decision? I'm like, just be patient, be still, like it's
Yeah.
coming, right? And then it was like all of a sudden, like, oh, got the job, I'm starting. Like
That's exactly how it happened.
and so was it just sort of being still until that moment where it was like, this is the answer?
Yeah, like I knew that even when I was interviewing, I said I was like, I still don't even know what's going to happen. Like if I want to be here, but I still have a big decision to make. So I was never really convinced that as soon as they offered it to me, I would accept.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I still had a decision to make, but it was as if, just by being quiet and being very patient, as patient as I could be, right? It's definitely a time where you're waiting to hear a word, right?
Yes.
Um, it was as if I knew the answer was going to come, and it was that feeling that I had on the day when I got the offer, and it was just
Mhm.
perfect timing. It was like 1 o'clock on a Friday, and it just was like it felt very much like the opening of a door. And I remember when the HR person called me, the way that she asked me if I would be interested, I could tell she was partially nervous that I would say no. And even just that little like inflection in her voice, I'll never forget it because it just meant a lot to me. I think that I was staring at all of these options. And it wasn't something that she presumed that I would be so excited and I would say yes right away. And I wasn't even sure what I would do. But I remember that one thing meant a lot to me too.
Absolutely. And did it make you feel more powerful that there were all these options on the table?
Absolutely. Yeah, because um, I quite literally could still come out at the end of 2018 successful. I felt strongly that I would finish successfully no matter which way I went.
Mm-hmm.
I could stay at that agency and work, as a consultant or, chime in areas of opportunity there. I could bolster the work that I had been doing on my own, which was already, very strong in that first month of the year. Or I could take this new role and all of them would be strong. So that felt really powerful because it felt abundant and it felt like I quite literally could manifest that over and over. That I could always have a bunch of opportunities at my disposal.
Oh, I love that. That's exciting.
Yes.
Oh, so cool. And this remind us, I don't know if we talked about it the last time, but this job that you now have literally came out of the blue, right? Didn't somebody just like a headhunter or somebody just call one day?
Yeah, well, it was something that I saw. It's comical because like I said it's walking distance from where I was before,
Mm-hmm.
and the description was really close to what I had already been doing. Um, but the title was a little bit different.
Mm.
And it it was one of those things where like every other opportunity before me, right, where I either pitched something or I went for something, it makes me kind of sit back in my chair like, huh, like like what are the odds of me seeing this at this particular time?
Yeah.
And I think it could have been like over break, like holiday break, and I just decided to shoot a note over to the HR rep.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, I'm close by. This is my title. I didn't say much. I didn't even do a big pitch. I'd never even sent my resume. I just said, this is This is what I've done. And she said, okay, send me your resume directly to my email. And I did that, and I hadn't heard back from her for, it was break.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I heard back from her and she wanted to talk to me, I knew it was real. Like I knew it wasn't just like a little bit of like her fishing around to make sure that I was good. Like like that feeling that I had when I first saw it, and I was like, huh, this looks really interesting. I knew that this was about to be like an adventure.
I love that. It's about to be an adventure.
Yeah.
So good. So how did your future self help you in the process of getting the job, all the way through?
So on the day that I did the first interview with you, that was my last interview with them. So I had done the interview, a couple hours had gone by, and then you and I spoke. And on that day, I think I mentioned in that interview that I was just at ease, and I knew that I knocked all of the, questions out of the park. I just knew that.
Yeah.
And my future self absolutely helped when I accepted the offer, and they wanted to know what my minimum salary requirement would be, and I reiterated that, and they wanted to come in lower, and I really calmly and respectfully asked for my minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation was respectful, and it was quick. And the HR rep said, let me just make a quick call to the president, see what I can do. And then she called me back in maybe 5 minutes. She was like, congratulations. So that was one of those things where I could have been swept up in the moment of like, wow, they picked me and I'm so excited, that I would have been like, you know what, this is not the time to, argue back and forth about a couple of bucks. But it didn't feel like this was a stressful thing for me to do, to just make sure that I had my minimum.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And how did it feel to just have them call right back and be like, yep, you're right, you're worth this?
Yeah, and I remember my parting words to her before she got off to ask for it. I said, I know what I'm about to come in there and do. She said, okay, so I was like, let me call you back, and that's what it was. Like, I just knew, it's like, I know what this entails, and I know how much of myself I'm about to put into this. So, it's worth it.
I love it. That's so cool. So let's talk about, what kind of space and time does this job free up in your life?
Oh, it's a lot of mental space. So I can tell, because it's, really fast paced, moving place. And people are asking me like, hey, have we scared you away yet? That's like a recurring joke when you start a new place, right?
Right.
But I could tell they kind of sort of mean it like, are you okay with this, like this amount of work? And and I can't really articulate for them that, yes, absolutely, I'm okay with this amount of work, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one, I've done massive amounts of work before, but aside from that, I am so just grateful that it's a lot of work with the one focus, and that has freed up so much of my mind,
Mm-hmm.
like getting in from work and knowing that I'm only going to get emails possibly, on evenings and weekends from this one place. And I know that sounds like, oh, that's not really a treat, to be emailed from, the people that you work with on evenings and weekends. But I have been juggling so many different like bosses in that way,
Mm-hmm.
between clients and agencies, and the even things that I volunteered for, that it to streamline everything the way that I've been able to do it over the past couple of weeks, where I'm just closing things out. Um, it has just felt so freeing. Like, I just feel like I have all the time in the world. But of course, I still have a lot of work, but it somehow mentally feels different. It's like, when people pay down debt, to some people it feels better to pay down like the lowest amount, and then for other people it feels better to attack the one with the highest interest rate. And really it's like you just have to pick the one that feels best to you. So for me, this like focusing on one massive ball of work feels so much better than three massive balls of work,
Yeah.
it really does.
Oh, that's awesome. And so, and how does it, I don't know, just feel to have that space in your life?
It's really hard to describe. And I know that I can't really share it with the people that I work with because I don't think they would understand. And it's really like,
Mhm.
none of their business either. But
Right.
I just came from like just this real comical kind of universe that I created for myself where I was quite literally doing everything all of the time. And it just it just feels good. Like I'm excited. So mind you, I haven't started exercising yet, but I'm excited because I'm like I can exercise now.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't matter that I didn't start. I'm still so excited. I'm excited as if I'm already like fit. Like as if I could already run a marathon. It's because I already can, because
Yeah.
I've made that room in my head to do something like that.
Oh, that's huge. And that's actually, then it's a done deal, right? Because like there's space for it. It's not I should, I want to, I can't, I all those other things. It's like, yeah, it's happening. Like it's just, and it's not even like, I feel like it's not even on your to-do list.
Nope.
It's just something that's gonna like flow in at the perfect time.
Yeah, no, it's I know it's coming. I know it's coming. And normally like I do fall into my routines of running or jogging or doing some kind of like, strength training when it feels good. And now is one of those times where I'm like, this is just perfect. Like this is great. I bought these lunches for myself and these snacks to keep in my office. And that was such a small thing to do, and I'm sure like a regular Sunday routine for a lot of people. And it was so fun. I had the time of my life buying those snacks and just like preparing that one thing for myself, which was just one of those tasks that fell off of my list before
Mm-hmm.
because there's just no way I could do that kind of planning, given everything that I was doing. It was way easier just to order lunch every day. And even then that was difficult because I would forget to feed myself and be like 3:30. It's like, oh gosh, I gotta call Panera. I gotta figure this out.
I love that you get to do that now.
Yeah, it's been so cool. And the first weekend after I finished working, that Saturday, my daughter and I went and we looked at the office and she drew like a little tiny blueprint. And then we went back to the stores and we just bought a couple of things to decorate the place, just, so that it feels homey.
Mm-hmm.
And little things like that, I quite literally have never done. Like my home office right now, it's cool. I'm comfortable here and it's got all the things on my desk that I love. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but this is different. It's like I'm creating this little space for myself. And in that space, I have my routine. I have my snacks and I have my lunch that I bring every day. And I'm just laughing because I know this sounds extraordinarily ordinary to everybody listening, but it's so good for me, and
Yeah.
it it's an amazing opportunity, so not only
Mm-hmm.
do I have, this regimented approach to my day, I'm doing fantastic life-changing work, and that's not an overstatement. I have quite literally sold a lot of useless things to people in my lifetime because I'm a good marketer, and now I get a chance to really apply my skills to things that can really make a big difference to people, and it feels really good.
That's all of that is amazing. I have so many thoughts. First, I totally get what it's like to get to that space where, or that place where you just don't have the space to even like feed, like you forget to feed yourself
Yeah.
until it's 3 o'clock and you have a headache and you are like, oh
Yep.
my gosh, like why? Oh yeah, because I didn't eat. And so I get that, like having that space to take care of yourself and just like the routine and all of that is awesome.
That's what it is. Just hearing you say it, it's just taking care of myself. Like
Mhm.
that's what it feels like, and it's the most beautiful part about that, Cassie, is that it's like I've done it on purpose. You know what I mean? I made this
Yes.
decision on purpose, and that means so much to me because, um, sometimes we forget that we are supposed to be our best friends. you
Mhm.
know, like
Yeah.
that's how love starts, right?
Yes.
With us, and I wasn't kind to myself in the past in that way.
I so good. I love it. Like I love that you get to be back in this space. And I think this is, I want to tie this in. Like part of this is that's how your future self behaves, right? Like
Absolutely.
she takes care of herself.
She
So
takes
you,
care of herself and her time. Absolutely.
yeah. And so you inevitably, I mean, and this wasn't hard when I'm about to say you had to create a situation where you could take care of yourself to get to the next level of her. I mean that in it got created for you, but it was very on purpose, I feel like, from that place because you couldn't become her if you're not taking care of yourself. Fully be her.
No, I think that's true. And earlier I said that, 2018 was going to be successful either way. But
Mhm.
ultimately, the decision I made was the decision that got me closer to where she is.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, that's why the decision was easy in the moment that I made it because it was like, the exercises that I'm doing where I'm writing about, being on Outer Banks,
Mhm.
which is one of my favorite places on earth and my home. I it was almost synonymous with this choice,
Mhm.
Um, it that's exactly where I needed to be in order to get there.
Mhm. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And I'm remembering like in the workshop when I was like, are you really going to be checking your phone that many times a day? And like now I get that like yeah, maybe there's one client, but I completely understand when you're like, well, it might be like once, right? Or it's just one
Right,
person, right?
right.
And so I love that. I love that you use the term like this decision was synonymous with that.
Yes, and I'm not kidding, Cassie. It was almost like a side by side picture of
Oh,
OBX and this position.
oh,
It was just like that. And yeah, sure. Eventually, because of my love for where I'm from and for that place, yeah, I'm going to be there in one way or another. But this is the fastest,
yes,
path
yes.
path to it.
Right?
Yes,
Whereas before, I want to bring this up again because I think it's so important. And I can hear in your voice how far past you are this. But before, you would have thought the fastest way there was to hustle there, right?
exactly.
Yeah. And so say a little bit about the difference.
The difference is I just plain know better, and
Mm.
I have data to support that. So it's like I've been hustling for a really long time and I have made a lot of money and I've bought some really cool things and experiences.
Mhm.
But I also have not enjoyed regular everyday things, which
Mhm.
is a value that you can't, you know, really kind of define.
Mhm.
And I know full well that the hustle could have gotten me to OBX, but I wouldn't have enjoyed it there at OBX or at home.
Mhm.
And I needed to make some rash decisions in order to make sure that I basically gave myself an ultimatum,
Mhm.
and it's like you can go down this path that you've been on forever and you know what that looks like, or you could do it this way and force yourself to have space in your brain and in your time and in your day.
And was it ever, is there any point in the decision that was hard? Because I think there could have been.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I almost felt physical pain
Yeah.
having to walk away from my clients. They're some of my favorite people on earth. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they're creatives and they're just beautiful and they're innovative and the work is fun, you know, uh, and it gives you real adrenaline to get some of this stuff done and work, really quickly with a team looking to do things like that together. So that was really hard, and I thought, like, are you making the right decision? And ultimately, I just kept coming back to, you know, I don't have anything else to prove in that field. I
Mm-hmm.
have quite literally done more amazing things in a span of like 10, 15 years in entertainment than most people can say they've done in a lifetime. And I don't have to do another thing in order to prove how kick ass I am in that space. I don't have to do anything else. It's already there. It's documented.
Yeah.
So now is my chance to, apply these things to something else and give myself the space to grow in a new way.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And yeah, and the space to grow, I think, is one of the biggest things, because when you're just running, hustling, going 110 miles an hour, there's not space to grow.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, will you talk a little bit about, I wasn't planning on asking this question, but I'm going to,
Hmm.
because I think you're such a good example of like putting your future self on the calendar. Like, we were having a discussion before, and you're like, I had it on my calendar, like our last meeting, but like it was at the wrong, just some things got mixed up. So it was very intentional that you wanted it on your calendar. And you're so good. You're like, this is what I do for my future self. This is how I honor her. Um, and so just share a little bit about what it means to give that space to your future self, to growth, to showing up in that way.
I crave it. So it's like
Mm.
it's more than just like a thing on my to-do list.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I can squeeze a little meditation in if I feel like I'm feeling off kilter, but I need those calls on Monday so bad. And it's
Mhm.
not like from a desperate or sad state. I just
Uh-huh.
feel nourished by them.
Yeah.
Um, so it's easy for me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite literally easy for me to make sure that that's what I'm doing with my Mondays. Um, and, you know, there are other things that I do to make sure that I feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be like music that I'm listening to,
Mm-hmm.
or a thought will pop in my mind and I feel like I have to deliver that sentence to somebody that I love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is all like nourishing. It's selfish. I do it because I need to do it and it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that that's relatively new for me. I would say like maybe in the past 2, 3 years, that's how I've been treating those things because I know how I feel afterward. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like exercise, at least for me, because exercise for me, like I can come up with a million excuses why I can't do it, and it's not exactly fun while I'm doing it, but it's worth it in the end. It's different for me because it feels good. There might be a little bit of inconvenience trying to work it into my schedule, but other than that, it's all good and it all feels good to be good to myself.
I love that. So big. And I think like scheduling that time, because I remember in the beginning you were like, nope, this is what goes here, this is what's happening, is also part of what opened that space of the space that you have now to nourish yourself and take care of lunch and all that.
Absolutely, because I mean, anything could have happened the minute before we were supposed to dial in for the Enchanted Circle. It could have been a hurricane, and I would have figured out a way because that's just like where it fit in my day. It
Mm-hmm.
was like as important as making sure I pay my bills. It was just
Uh-huh.
going to get done. It was going to happen. So I tried not to read too much into the fact that I missed the first one, because I was like, oh gosh, not gonna think of it as a sign. It just like time just got away from me. My calendar reminder was off on my in my calendar, so that I didn't hear the little reminder until it was too late. But yeah, no, nothing can move that for me, and
Yeah.
I don't even have to say anything. I do say something, every week,
Yeah.
but I don't even have to say anything. It's just like showing up and making sure that I do that, and making sure that I listen and that I learn is so important to me.
I love it. And it shows. I think that dedication is showing in all the awesomeness that's happening in your life. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any so are you still offering something if people want help with digital strategy? Or are you
Sure, they
reaching out?
can go to socialmediaprotips.com and opt in for monthly updates to social media platform, new features and tactics for people who are in the space. If you have your own channels, social media channels, to put out your own personal brand, or if you're working for someone else in marketing, these are the tips beyond the regular, kind of best practices. These are the things that really, push your brand further.
I love it. And any final thoughts, inspired, enchanted wisdom you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I just, sometimes if you feel as though you're hearing a message that sounds too good to be true, like, oh, it's all possible, or something like that, and you're thinking, oh, there's an asterisk there. I think the truth is, then that means that maybe you just need to find another space that feels good, because it is all possible.
Mhm.
And I think it's fair to be patient with ourselves so that we get to that place. But first, pick something else in between where you are, and it's all possible, and just get there, and then just keep on going, because this is fun. This is why we're here. You know,
Yes.
this is
Yes,
why we're
totally.
yeah,
Yeah. It's why we're here, to have fun.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nikki. It's always a joy to talk to you, whether it's on Monday night or get the little extra dose during these interviews. And thank you so much for sharing your journey with the More Money listeners. I know I hear people all the time that they're like, oh my gosh, that interview was so good. I learned so much. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for everything that you do.
Absolutely. And More Money, make sure to check out Nikki's next interview, as well as the next interview on the Year of Growth series, which will happen next week. If you're feeling the calling to join the Enchanted Circle, go to CassieParks.com and check it out.
Thank you for joining us on The More Money Show. To learn the step-by-step process to welcome more money into your life, go to manifest10k.com.